I might need to change my volume.
Grab your drinks and grab your seat. Sunday spotlights, here it's a treat. Tombi's chilling, the vibes are right. Let's talk small streamers and shine some light. About creators we know and love. They make the content we can't get it enough of. The grind of being small can really be tough. So Sunday we show love. As we build our community and family, making space for the ones who are like me. But this is more than marks and they're more than creators. I call them friends, now I'll see you later. Spotlight, Sunday spotlight. Spotlight, Sunday spotlight. Spotlight, Sunday spotlight. Spotlight, Sunday spotlight. About Christ's lives, we know we love. But make the content we can't get enough of. The grind of being small can really be tough. So Sunday we show love. As we build our community and family, making space for the ones who are like me. But this is more than marks and they're more than creators. I call them friends, now I'll see you later. Spotlight, Sunday spotlight. Spotlight, Sunday spotlight.
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies, gents. Welcome to the Sunday Spotlight with me, Tombi. And we are back. Finally, after so many weeks. Do you know what? It actually feels like it's been best part of a month or even a month and a half since the last time we actually did do a Sunday Spotlight. And usually, Sunday Spotlight, guys, whether you're coming in here for the first time or you're watching as a regular, we normally go through, have a look at some of the smaller creators, smaller streamers that we bump into every day. Might be in my chat, might be in someone else's chat, someone we've come across through someone else. And we generally just look at their creator journey, what they do, what their channel's all about, any suggestions where we can improve things, and just generally just have a good discussion about the individual. Now, usually I have the floor to myself, and once a month I try and get a special guest on these shows as well. And today is one of those special days. So, a fellow ex-armed forces veteran, someone who's very, very close in a lot of ways to how my injuries came about in the armed forces, some of my journey. Obviously, I'm a tad older. Don't hold it against me. But let's introduce you to the special guest. And I think I'm going to have to add him onto the screen here. Switch to this one and let me add Drew here. And let me just get him resized. How you doing, Drew?
Outstanding. How are you?
I am living the dream, sir. And thank you. First, thank you, obviously, from myself for jumping in with me on this, especially because it's the first one back since obviously the 3 weeks I've had in the States were absolutely loved. Both me and the wife absolutely loved visiting the States. Did the whole of the East Coast and spent a good portion of our time in Tennessee, and it was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. You probably spent more time on the East Coast than I have. Then I've been to New York once,
Yep.
pretty much, and yeah, that's about it. But yeah, you said you went to like Boston and a few other.
Yeah, so we started off up in Boston, did the Salem, Sleepy Hollow, started coming down the coast, headed down, popped into, I think it was around Harrisburg area to see one of the other content creators, Comics Dad, drove down to Annapolis, spent some time in Annapolis, went into DC, met up with another content creator, Sandy Hugh, who took us on a massive guided tour of Washington, D.C., which was fantastic. So got to see the White House, which I'm absolutely gobsmacked is actually smaller than it feels. It's absolutely tiny, and we see the White House in movies and films and on posters, and it looks magnificent in its splendor. It looks magnificent in real life, but it always looks big, always looks chunky. And I was like, that's really small. It's like just a house. It's just a tiny little house.
Cameras try to get the whole thing, and when they do that, they make it the whole picture.
Yeah. And did you ever watch the White House Down film with Channing Tatum and
Yep.
Jamie Foxx? And
Absolutely.
he's driving around the front, and it seems like he's driving quite a way.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's probably a movie magic type deal.
yeah,
Kind of like
it's
the Fast and the Furious airport runway
yeah,
scene where it
yeah.
lasts like
The
50 miles.
the 50-mile airport
Yeah.
runway. Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely insane. Let me just move one of these things. Let's just move this across. There we go.
Yeah.
My
Much like this
OCD,
background.
my OCD kicks off massively if something's just like feels slightly out wonky, and
Yeah.
one of those things was just close to the edge.
Yeah, I
But
talk about that on pop culture stuff. Is like,
yeah,
yeah, we want like an escape, ism, or it's like, yeah, they have something like the White House, but it's like, okay, you can make it not real.
yeah,
There's a line.
yeah. Yep, there is indeed. But yes, so we did DC, did Annapolis, popped down to Virginia to see Steel Legger History, another content creator, and then once we had cleared Virginia, we were into Tennessee, and that's when the rest of the holiday really did truly begin. And we got the opportunity at that point to start looking at properties because both myself and the wife are looking at moving across to America at some point the next 2 to 5 years. That is a goal that we've I would like to say I slowly started seeding the wife with this idea about 5 years ago, but last year just was a turning point for certainly for the wife, because she turned around and said, "We need to move to the States." The UK was just getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I'm
Um,
kind of in a similar situation where I'm in a state, Minnesota, I'll say, where it's like, okay, things just keep getting worse. Like,
mm,
when does it end? And I like how you had that idea of just having that conversation just kind of over time and planting little seeds and maybe looking
yep,
into stuff, doing some research. Then you did a travel. And that's kind of what I've been doing the last 4 years with this recovery, which I'm sure we'll
yeah,
get into, is I've been traveling. There's an opportunity that comes up. For one, I did this when I was in the military. I did mission planning and different locations and scouting and recon, and then I did that in the business world too, of doing conventions and
yeah,
expos and that kind of stuff in different states, maneuvering the airport or the long road trip or whatever have you. That's I didn't realize it, but that's like my wheelhouse.
yeah,
And so then going through getting paralyzed, getting, stuck in a hospital for 6 months, it takes you out of your world that you kind of created over time. And so now these opportunities are coming up for a convention or something like that. I'm like, okay, I can plan this
yep,
with my limitations. I might look pretty dumb for a while trying to maneuver an airport in a wheelchair. I've never been used to this, but I got good at it, and I just kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. And there were stumbles along the way, but man, in the last 4 years, it's I've just gotten better and better at it, and that's more closely to my passion of interest of event planning, connecting people, and yeah, it's pretty cool just getting closer to this whole second career. But the heat is really what kicks my butt. You're just talking
yeah,
about the heat. And
yeah.
so my travel season is in the Minnesota winter, where
Mhm.
other places are warmer, kind of like that. I don't know Celsius, but yeah, 70 degrees
Yep.
Fahrenheit is my jam, or less. 60 to 70. Man, I can
Same as
operate.
me.
Yep.
Same as me. If so, I think let me go to my freedom unit calculator
There you go.
to Celsius. So for me, my comfort zone is anywhere between 16 degrees centigrade and say 19 degrees maximum. 19 is 66
Okay.
Fahrenheit. That there is a perfect temperature to operate at in terms of just existing at. Can sit in t-shirt and shorts all day long and not suffer anything at all. The second it starts going above, let's say, 75 freedom units, I start really suffering. And
Yep.
it's obviously for the benefit of the chat, and we'll say hello to the chat in a second. Both myself and Drew, obviously ex armed forces, and interestingly, where I think you were aviation and operations, I was weapons engineering and mine disposal. So it's
Oh
like
wow.
two sides, and with the communications. So I also specialized in communications, electronic warfare as well. It's like two sides of exactly the same coin, and we're also almost the equivalent. I think we're actually the equivalent in rank as well, because I think you were an E6.
E6 is what I got out
Yeah.
as.
So the E6, which is staff sergeant equivalent in the UK, is a chief petty officer, which is what I came out at, and just my epaulets just there tucked away. So these are my chief's epaulets that we wear on our shoulders.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, and it's just so bizarre to find someone Levistro just coming in. Just quickly highlight that Levistro
Shut up and take
for
my money.
$2. Now do it in Kelvin. Fuck's sake. Freedom unit to Kelvin. So let's do 75, 297 Kelvin. Levistro.
Oh
That
yeah,
is too hot for me.
you must live
Um,
in Kelvin world.
And if we do 292 Kelvin, that's nice. That's nice. Yes. But yeah, I was, I was, I
Yeah, I
was.
did. Well, yeah, like you said, it's two different things, but yeah, I worked with all different types of people. I even
Yep.
dabbled in electronic warfare as well. I was close to going to a school for that, and then it would be an additional MOS, military
Yep.
occupational specialty. So yeah, I really considered that because that was a booming thing at the time. I think it was 2017. They're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, let's get all these people qualified in this electronic warfare, you know, arena now."
Yep. And the because obviously we've both done serve time in the Gulf. For the Americans, it was Operation Iraqi Freedom. For the UK, it came under the Operation Optelic. So there was just a different name, but same basic thing. 2003, it started for the UK. We pulled out essentially 2009 when most of the Americans pulled out, and then it was over to training and stuff like that afterwards. But I had already been injured before this time, so I was carrying out mine hunting operations, clearing waterways into Basra, just clearing all of the surface, subsurface, magnetic mines, so the Billy Big ships can get in and do their business. And it was 2007 that I got injured. So it was good. What's that? 17, 18 years ago now.
Yeah.
And obviously the injury that we'll talk about some of the injury stuff. For me, I managed to break myself in a very stupid way. Let's put it that way, as we generally tend to do. But because they took so long to carry out any form of kind of like medical intervention, it left me with permanent nerve damage up both limbs and across my spine and into my neck. And the condition is CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome, which is just basically full on neuropathic pain. The nerves, so where you've got your flight and fight sympathetic nervous system, and you touch, say, the best way of me explaining it is you touch a hot iron, you pull away instantly because you know it's hot, but obviously that's your sympathetic nervous system. Mine's been rewired to feel pain instead. So
Yep.
it's
That's a
like
good way of putting it. That's
horrible.
how I feel. So it's all the surface area of my
Yep.
body, especially the arms and legs and face. I
Yep.
still have paralysis. And the way I try to explain to people is imagine wearing gloves or socks with nothing but Legos in them.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of get used to it if you don't move, but the second you move a little bit or try to grab something or whatever, you're feeling that stabbing pain
Yeah.
going right to your nerves. So
Yeah. I
that's
really
one.
struggle to have anything on my arms at all.
Yep.
Which is why most of the time, same with my legs, you'll see me always basically in short and t-shirts, because I just can't stand having materials rubbing against my legs or my arms for too long, because the pain just starts to overtake.
Yeah, that's
And
very similar.
I've said a lot of the guys in chat, know I've kind of like described it as the feeling of every day is like you've got a toothache, just that dull pain toothache across both your arms, both your legs, spine, neck, whatever. And that's a good day. That's a 4 out of 10. That's an everyday thing. When the weather changes, or you get up just slightly wrong, or you sleep just slightly wrong, or you sneeze in the wrong direction, instantly it's gone to that 12 out of 10. And the only way of me describing it is like someone's taken lighter fluid and just poured it down both arms and just set fire to it.
Yep.
It's excruciating. Or the good one is someone's got a rusty screwdriver in the back of my neck and has just pushed it in for good measure and is just rotating it. And there's just no escape from it at times. No escape.
Yeah, I hear you on the sleep. It takes a while to get to sleep, to be
Yep.
comfortable, and then to stay asleep. But then you got the other mental kind of obstacles as well throughout that. Yeah, there's nothing that's coasting or as just a normal kind of day anymore. And like you said, with the heat as well, or the change in temperature, I should say. Like anytime it goes in 40 or 20 degrees Fahrenheit change, so it's probably less for C. But yeah, it throws everything off. And you could have the perfect plan for the day, be like, all right, I'm going to get all this done.
Yep.
It's got to go from here to here and here. Made all these plans months ago, and then you can't do any of it, or
Yeah.
you're fighting to get a few things done so you can get the bigger ones done, or whatever the case is. And
Yep.
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it becomes quite tough, and certainly as individuals like yourself, obviously I'm aware that you are a dad. You've got a young child.
Yep,
Yeah.
correct. I don't get too
Um,
much into the family business, but yeah, I got a young one.
yeah. I for myself, obviously when I got injured, most of the grandkids weren't even with us at that point. So all of the grandkids came about after I was injured, and it becomes quite disheartening at times where you're trying to achieve stuff with the grandkids. You want to play with the grandkids. You want to go out and spend time with them, and just a simple thing, and it's just taken away from you in a heartbeat. But so you
Yeah,
join the armed
also in
forces.
trying to explain that to people too.
Yeah,
You're fighting two things. You're trying to fight to get things done while you have pain and all this, and then having to like translate that to the people around you so that they
yeah,
can understand and help if needed. But at the same time, you're re- you're addressing the pain while you're feeling the pain while you're trying to explain the pain, and
yeah.
it's a weird double-edged sword.
Yeah, it took quite a lot of time and a lot of patience, certainly from the wife, because obviously medications that I went through during my so-called recovery, I'm never going to recover. Unfortunately, CRPS is one of those things that there is a low chance of recovery from. Some of the medications that they put me on at the time just did not react very well. One of them, pregabalin, which
I've had that too.
I wasn't on that one for too long. That turned me into the Incredible Hulk. I was just angry all of the time.
I'm glad
Um,
you say that because I felt the same way
I
with
was,
that one.
and
Yeah.
it was over nothing. And the wife actually pointed out one day. I'd cooked dinner. I'd shouted up to one of the youngsters. He was up in his bedroom doing whatever he was doing. It really was irrelevant. And yeah, I exploded because it took him 5 minutes longer to come down the stairs than normal. And I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. And the wife said, you've got to come off those meds. Came off the meds, and probably a week after coming off the meds, I was completely back to normal.
Wow.
Yeah, flipping me over from pregabalin to no, actually, tell a lie, it was gabapentin was the first one I was on, and that was the one that made me angry. And they flipped me onto pregabalin. That was it. And a lot of people have the opposite effect, where gabapentin is fine, but pregabalin made them angry. And it's certainly quite difficult to explain to people at times. Lucky
It
enough,
is.
the wife understood. The wife knows instinctively now when I'm having a good day or I'm having a bad day, just by how I'll make a cup of tea in the morning. Um, but that goes a long way to obviously help with obviously making it through the days with a bit more sanity. I Because I work from home, I don't really interact with my colleagues as much that I work with. So trying to explain to them that yes, I have got this condition that affects my mood, the amount of pain, whether or not I'm going to wake up in the morning, whether or not I'm even actually going to start work in the morning, becomes quite difficult because you're not working side by side with these people. Um,
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And yeah, I was leading in that I get my travel done in the other part of the year, and then now in the summer, it's hot in Minnesota, hot and humid, and each day is a little bit different. So that's why I'm trying to do as much as I can online. So I've been
yeah,
having online interviews, conversations, panels, hosting my own, being a part of others, and I've gotten to the point where like that's a good pace.
yeah.
That's good structure to plan out kind of for the year for whatever. So, yeah, I'm grateful for there's so many opportunities online now to work this kind of
Yeah, and
thing.
there's a lot of what, and I think was it was it Mr. Crossland's interview that you did with him, and I think you mentioned that there's a lot of geeks in the armed forces, and
Yeah,
there
there are.
really are. There's so many geeks. There's so many nerds. We love our pop culture. We love our video games. We love our tabletops,
That's where I first
and
heard about World of Warcraft was
yeah,
like 2004 or 5
yeah.
army communication guys.
2004 was an eye opener for me in terms of World of Warcraft because a few of the friends had started playing it. I was obviously still in the armed forces at the time, but the civvies were all playing World of Warcraft every time I came home over the weekend, and I was like, "Hold on a minute, this game looks awesome!" Just running around as a little orc, beating the crap out of things, and I was like, "I'm going to start playing it." I literally no lifed it at that point. World of Warcraft actually helped me get over the my first marriage because we were in the armed forces. We moved around a bit too much, and the first wife really struggled with it. So ended up in divorce with that one. So World of Warcraft became kind of like the thing that got me through it the most. Because I was just be able to stand back and play World of Warcraft with friends, with people all over the world online, and just completely separate myself from reality. And I even played World of Warcraft at sea over a SATCOM connection, probably for about half an hour, before obviously thinking, oh, actually, this is costing £8 a minute. It's like, yeah, maybe we'll just turn that off for a bit.
Yeah, we got creative during that time. So we did LAN part. We had trailers. So we did, and would eventually got internet. So then doing LAN parties with different trailers that were in Iraq, doing what was it, Halo? Maybe it was 2 at the time, something like Halo 2. We were playing that, different rooms basically, so we weren't having a screen watch, but it was like the early version of like an Xbox Live or PlayStation or whatever, but just our own people. It was wild. It was a cool time.
And
Yeah, we had so many people that knew how to do that kind of stuff from military things, and they're like, hey, we can do this in our free time.
yeah, and the thing is, it also helps with that sanity factor. A lot of the civvies that I've come across, most of them pretty much understand that war is hell at times, which it is, and even when you're not in a theatre or operation, just being in the military does take its toll in many ways, whether it's physically on your body or mentally in your health, being separated from family. But it's nice to be able to set up these things in the armed forces and just get that little bit of separation from the military and just feel like you're at home again, even if it's for half an hour, every once in a blue moon.
Yeah, that's where I jumped into. I was always a movie TV show guy. So at the time, that 2005, I found out about 24. And so I knew other people that
Yes.
was burning DVDs and stuff like that at the time. So I would just borrow somebody's whole library if they had a bunch of just like 24, which they did. And then I burned those and made my own copy. And I'm like, this is awesome. I could watch this and end up watching, 8 hours of it in one night. It's
Yep.
like, okay, now I got to get up and go back to work, even though
Yeah.
tired. But
You
yeah,
gotta get up, go turn to get through the day, and it's like I am running on zero sleep.
yep. And then you modify a little bit and be like, okay, maybe I'm just going to do one disc of 4
Yep.
episodes or whatever. And yeah, it's where you just dial it in. What's good for you, whole, overall as a complete picture, and then but what's good for you at the time too. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, maybe today was tough, and I need just 4 hours of video games or a movie or something like that to take me out of the current situation I'm in, whether it be Iraq, Middle East,
Yep.
wherever, Europe, or just a tough job that you're working on for just feels like it's never going to end.
Yeah. So I don't want to dwell too much on it because you probably talked about it's Guillain-Barré syndrome, isn't it?
Yep, Guillain-Barré.
Yeah. So
It's called the French polio. I really got to meet someone who's French and be like, how do you pronounce it? Because I've heard it a million different ways every time.
yeah, I don't want to dwell on it too much because the idea is that we just get to know you. Obviously, that's part of what your past is. So we'll talk about it for 5-10 minutes, and how that's obviously affecting you today. But also, I want to see how that also ties into the journey that you've been on, where you are currently. And the only reason why I say I don't want to dwell on it too much is because you've probably been on so many shows where you've got to go through the same thing time and time and time again. There gets a point where you probably get frustrated with the same bloody questions.
Yeah, it's okay though, because it's so recent that it has an impact on my current life now, my current career. That's why I don't mind talking about it. And the fact that if it can help somebody else, and it really took having to say like, okay, because at first I wanted to hide everything, be like, all right, maybe it's just a little issue, I can hide it, just like not hide it, but not project it to the world
Yeah.
or all my friend groups and family, and just get over this and come back even stronger. And then it kept lasting longer and longer, and it just got to the point where it's like, okay, I can't do this all by myself. I can't exclude people from this conversation that I'm having related to something so important in my life. And the other factor was, okay, if it's still hurting other people, if they're suffering on their own,
Yeah.
if by sharing my story, doing interviews, talking conversations about this, maybe they can get some relief. And I just rely on that one feeling, and that kind of keeps me going. And I don't mind, talking about the same situation questions with genuine people,
Yeah.
and people that also want to help. So I'm willing to give my time, my uh, focus on a really rough part of my life. But just like you talked about earlier about your symptoms and what you go through. It's what makes us as who we are today.
Yeah.
It's like any superhero origin story. They have to go through some stuff. It's a hero's journey, and that's why I've leaned on pop culture. Physical media. That's
Yeah.
kind of got me like what I have my background, and the people I've been hanging out with the last couple of years have been we make connections, and then that helps us with our day-to-day stuff.
So it was what have they actually confirmed? So I haven't got all of the details, but was it ever confirmed or ever admitted that it was the Pfizer vaccine that's caused it?
Yes, as much as people are
As
allowed to.
much,
Yeah,
yeah,
as
right,
much
okay.
as
So some
children
politics there.
people. Yeah. Yeah, there's you can only push so far with it. But yeah, my
Yeah,
medical records say I got this medical procedure that was pushed on me, coerced, forced, whatever word you want to use,
yeah,
carrot and stick, that affected my both military service, the full-time federal contractor job that I was in, what they were making legislation to require that, and
yeah.
then also going to university school, what was done by remote, but they're also requiring it or be suspended, expelled. So, uh, did the medical procedure. I'm bouncing around these words. Forgive me, chat, because
Yeah, no, you're okay. We're reading between the
don't
lines,
always
guys.
know, how all these policies in terms of uh, things are. So, but we want to get the kind of message across. But yeah, so went through with that in the year 2021, and then immediately start to get symptoms here or there. But we all have symptoms of weird things every day, so it's hard to pinpoint stuff. But when it's on an escalating thing, where first I'm getting numbness, tingling in my fingers,
Yeah,
oh, that's kind of weird. I felt weird stuff before, under a lot of stress. We're just we got to focus on what we need to do today. And then the next week, I can't pick up a full water bottle. Uh, it's the same feeling I have right now, at the time when I first felt it, where it's like, wow, this feels like 50 pounds right now that I'm really putting all my effort into holding, where it used to be just you kind of pick something up like that. Be like, all right, that's weird. Maybe I should pay attention. Then I go to sleep, wake up the next day, and I'm like this. I can move my head and my arms barely, but the whole trunk, from knees to neck, is just like it's wrapped in concrete, wrapped in like a suit of armor. So I had to be lifted out of bed, dragged to the emergency room, and they do all these tests, MRI, CAT scan, everything, blood
yeah,
work, and nothing's coming back from those tests. But the nurse staff, the doctors, they're like, "Yep, we've seen this a million times. It's Guillain-Barré syndrome. We don't have the proof yet until we do a spinal tap, a lumbar puncture." And so they do that, then they see what they need to, and then it just goes full on from there. Then it's life-saving, urgent, everything.
yeah.
The whole world stops to take, that what it felt like the world was stopping to make sure that I would stay alive. But hours later, it was, we need to put you into a coma. We need to intubate you. Don't know for how long. Don't know what it's going to feel like. Uh, Make your final calls, and we got to do this like right now.
Holy shit! Were you with you were Are you married, if you don't mind me asking?
Yep, I am.
Were you with your wife at the time? I
Yeah.
assume so.
Yep.
Yeah. Holy shit. That just the thought of that is you've got minutes few. You need to make a phone call right now because if we don't do this, you're not going to be here anyway, irrespective. That must be absolutely fucking
Yep.
terrifying.
All while they had me filled with, whatever pain drugs and stuff and
Yeah.
whatever because they had to take me from one hospital to the main larger one in order to do all this. So all I remember was I get in the ambulance from that first hospital, the ER one, going to the main one, and I guess I end up throwing up everywhere, and because they're connecting me with all the cords and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's like an episode of ER or what was that other
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy type thing? Yeah, it's like a military type emergency situation, but that just came out of nowhere.
And was this still in theatre or operation, or was this at home?
This was at home.
Right. Okay.
So I was in the National Guard, serving in the National Guard, working full time remotely for a civilian contractor or a civilian job, and then I just
Yeah.
found out later that they were a portion of it was connected to federal government, so they were under that policy, the OSHA policy, where they're going to require every federal contractor to get the mandated medical procedure.
Yes.
And a bunch of companies pushed back. Daily Wire was a big one. It was basically it was multiple. There was the federal contracting part. So it's like if you do any kind of business with the government, then you're going to have to get all your employees are going to have to get it. Then they started saying any employer that has over 100 employees or 99 or whatever the deal was, and that's when it started to get really pushed back. And so it's it was pretty wild at the time. So I had all that stuff going on and just had to. I had meetings and clients like that day. I had papers that I had to turn into, and so I'm like barely working my hands trying to
Yeah.
I won't be in today or the foreseeable future. I don't know what this is, but
Yeah. That's so that's freaking crazy because I look at obviously the rest of us. We're all living, breathing, and just joking away and talking and discussing things on a daily basis. But how many people really do put kind of like some emergency pack together and say, this is what needs to happen should anything happen and I can't physically do it myself, kind of thing. And
right. I mean, that's like the good question of like we should all have that.
We should all do it.
But we don't. We all die eventually, but we never think about what the plans if that should happen today, in a couple hours, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or physically or severely, out of your normal thing. So we all have our normal how we are, but if that all changes in a couple hours, what is that life going to look like? And none of us can prepare that much, but we can do probably more than what we're doing. That's why, people talk about having a will, having medical decisions on somebody, and emergency funds, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
lucky enough, but I was very intentional about putting emergency savings and stuff like that, getting debt handled prior to this. So I was in a good spot there. Not perfect, but better than not having it in place at all.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that I look at myself and think, right, okay, well, the wife knows a lot of the things that need to happen, 1, 2, 3, ABC, in order to sort out some of my affairs. But even if we just looked at something so simple as passwords, PIN numbers for accounts, bank accounts that need to be shut down, or you're paying subscription to XYZ application that needs to be shut down. I mean, there's so many different things that we know in our heads that we're paying for these services or we've got these things going on, and a lot of them for me are all streaming related, and it's like the wife's got no hope in hell's chance of knowing that there's some random subscription to an AI generated music thingamajigger or whatever it may be.
Well, then not only or when it renews and how much, and is it going to
Yeah.
affect the main bank account or is it going here, there? And then nowadays they all have like this multi-factor verification going to a
Yep.
cell phone, Does your well, for one, you got to have a significant other. If you don't, who's gonna open up the phone and do all this stuff?
Yeah, and
Or
especially if it's tied to your fingerprint as well. It's like,
yeah, there's that too.
okay, we've got biometrics involved here. We've got multi-factor authentication. There's a signal come to the phone. Where's the phone? Don't know where the phone is. Can't log
Yeah,
into anything.
we can
What's
barely figure that out I'm speaking for myself, every day.
Yeah,
Like we got all these. I'm trying to log in. They're sending it to. Is it this phone? Is it this phone?
yep.
Imagine passing all that on to somebody else to figure out.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, obviously, thank you incredibly for obviously sharing some of that with us, and especially with the chat as well. Because a lot of the guys that are in the chat will have obviously known that I'm ex-armed forces. Not many people know I suffer from CRPS because it's like yourself. It's not something I would necessarily just tell everybody
Yeah,
because certainly for myself, you're probably exactly the same as me, and it sounds like you are. There's a point where we just try and man up and deal with it as best we can do. Sure, we're going to get knocked down. Sure, we're going to have really bad days at times where we just need to take a step back and break. But we generally don't. And members of the armed forces generally don't behave that way because we're not wired that way.
exactly. Yeah, and you don't know if how you go about life is the normal thing, or even like how to classify that until you get put in that kind of situation. And
Yeah.
so you're right. Maybe that's our personality, and there are different personalities in the military and American and other country militaries, for sure. But it's cool to like dive down in that personality styles. It's like, yeah, we go after this with everything we got and figure it out, and yeah, try to do the best we can. But there's no game plan. That's really what I figured out the last 4 years. There's no set, and I always kind of knew that if you're trying to get career develop in the military or your
Yeah.
job or whatever, there's no game plan. But there's a lot of examples of how other people have done it with
Yeah.
success or failure. But when you get hit with a major medical thing, there's no game plan, and other people, you can't relate to other people, and other people don't even know what you're going through until you talked about it. But then
Yeah.
you got to be comfortable enough to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's wild. I don't know if I'm 40 now. You said you're a little bit older, so I can't tell if it's just like a midlife crisis thing, or you begin to like kind of understand the world at 40-ish, kind of years, where it's like, okay, this is kind of really how the world or life works.
Yeah.
Because around that teenager 20, 25, you're still figuring things out, and you're still like looking around, and everyone's kind of doing similar things. It's not till you get till about 40, it's like, wow, everyone's doing a lot of different things and got their own path, and you can dabble in a little bit of each one.
Yeah, and the other thing I found, especially when I turned 40, was I suddenly realized that I had valuable experience that I could share with other people. In as much as, yes, I've spent time in the military. I've came out of the military, was injured for the last 18 years. It took me 2 years to learn how to use my arm again. All of these setbacks, all of these successes over time, has essentially shaped me into being into a position where I think that I'm able to share some knowledge from my life, my experiences, whether it's from the armed forces, jumping into railway, because my career progression went from mine disposal armed forces to railway engineer to basically a glorified IT consultant for rail engineering firms into full-on senior IT consultancy. So I've gone from one which is massively active in terms of boots on the ground and kicking down doors to one now where I literally sit in an office, typing code all day, liaising with clients, getting issues sorted, and creating projects and whatever. And the arc that has been for myself all the while with this condition has led me to this point where at the age of 40 I felt, do you know what, there's more I can do for not just myself, but raising awareness of certain conditions for other people as well. CRPS
Yeah.
is still very little is known about it. There's still no cure for it. It is all about pain management. CRPS is, and it's been like that for 20 years. I mean, they reclassified its name like 15 times in
Yep.
100 years.
I've had a couple
And
of those too. It's where it's like you have this condition and they just keep reclassifying it, changing
yeah,
the policy, changing the definitions, and not always with your knowledge of it.
yeah, exactly. And suddenly it's what the one of the biggest struggles for me, certainly when I came out of the armed forces, was military pensions, because we were medically oh shit, what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Medically discharged from the armed forces, so it's counted as a injury in time of war. So all of that was covered,
Yep.
and you get a pension for the rest of your life, kind of thing. And so the UK military, they work it out as what you were earning at the time of when you were injured, plus a percentage, and that's what your military pension becomes for the rest of your life, and it's paid for the rest of your life from then. Now, it took me 7 years to get mine properly sorted, because originally, when they assessed the injury, they assumed that I'd be completely fully fit after 26 weeks, whereas after 3 years, when the appeals were going through, it was clear that wasn't the case.
Yep.
Roll on 4 more years, and I had to take the UK Armed Forces to court. In a medical tribunal in front of 3 judges, they ruled in my favour after just 3 minutes.
Wow.
3 minutes it took to confirm what I've been saying to the armed forces for 7 years. There's something not quite right. You haven't quite sorted this out. This is not quite correct. The armed forces keep on pushing back, because they don't want to spend the money. They don't want to admit liability.
Yep.
And
Where I'm in too.
eventually, the medical tribunal judges said, well, it's quite clear and obvious. You're suffering CRPS. It's now 7 years after the fact. This tariff they put you on is incorrect. This is the correct tariff. Here you go. Are you happy with that? And I was like, yes, because finally someone's listened.
That is like the story I've heard from many veterans in America for many years. And then I went through that myself in the last 5 years. Not only fighting to feel better, to heal better, to recover, but then you're fighting the insurance, the hospital, because that's
Yep.
where you get the care, the insurance company that is supposed to be covering it or not, or they change policies every year. And then you have the military that's supposed to be covering that whole thing
Yep.
because of the benefits you earned and where you qualified and stuff like that. But like you said, it's inaccurate. Like if there is an inaccuracy, that messes everything up. Oh, and then you add lawyers in there too,
Yep.
to make sure everyone's, doing that. But then you also have to pay them and read their contracts and stuff like that. So it's a nonstop battle. I don't know how to explain it. I judge people when I was younger, when I was had less wisdom, I would just see somebody, being different, and then you would automatically just place a certain thing because
Yeah.
that's all you know to that point. It's
Correct.
like, oh, they're struggling, they're jacked up, whatever. They're not trying or lazy or whatever like that. And now I'm realizing that that's completely just an initial reaction and not the whole thing. And there's just always a lot more to it. So I'm a lot more, I guess, empathetic in that kind of way, just because there's no easy answer for all this stuff, and there's
Yeah.
so many. There's things that you know are inaccurate, that you don't know what's going on. There are things you don't know, and then there's things you don't know that you don't know, and
Yep.
that's where I'm trying to figure out right now, and just all the things I know that I don't know, and so just narrowing down that gap of the unknowns.
Yeah, and you're hitting a good point as well when it comes to judging a book by its cover, because we're all very, very guilty of doing that, no matter the circumstance. because we look at our own experiences, because it's the only way we can compare our experience to something we're finding in front of us, whether it's Joe Blogs on the street that's hobbling, or whether it's the 17-year-old that's claiming disability benefit for XYZ. We're very, very guilty as just as human beings of taking a snap look at things and trying to assess. And members of the armed forces, I would actually say we're actually trained to do that more, because obviously when we're approaching certain theatres of operation, we have to make decisions very, very quickly, because at the end of the day, if you take too long on a decision, lives depend on it. So we have to come to a conclusion very quickly. Now, is that conclusion correct? 90% of the time, I'd say, yeah, it probably is. But there's always that 10% where we're fed a little bit more information, then we reform and reevaluate and reanalyze the situation and reclassify it.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's like a timing thing.
Yeah.
It's like we need to make a decision with the best information that we have based on our experience and the people involved. If it's just you or I trying to make a decision in all this, you're limited there. But then you start adding teams.
Yep.
But then you also got to have, like, you know, that structure of hierarchy. But then it's listening. Like, say you're in a command team leader position, you got to be able to trust the people you're with, listen to them. If they're like, hey, I've seen that situation before in a similar way.
Yeah.
That landscape, that bush doesn't look right. There's something there. And maybe he's like, I believe that that's not the way it should be. And then it's like, it looks fine to me, but I'm going to trust this guy because he knows that specialty, or he has a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up, is like we have to make those decisions. But now back home, we have a little bit more time to evaluate, you know, a lot more the bigger picture.
How do you find? Obviously, I started streaming. When did I start streaming? 2023. So
you did?
yeah, so I
late.
only started streaming fairly recently in the grand scheme of things, and it was all because of heel versus babyface's brother, Mr. Porkchop, and it was his fault, because I was watching Az play a game. I've watched Az for quite some time. Watched him ever since his World of Warcraft days. Him, Swifty, Asmongold, loads of content creators. And he introduced the chat to his brother, Mr. Porkchop, who was helping him sort out some of the stuff in his house at the time. And I started watching Mr. Porkchop almost religiously, because it was quite easy for me. He was streaming during the day. I was working during the day, so here I am coding away, getting work done. I could just put something on in the background and just listen to it and interact every now and again and say hello. And I had the privilege of actually building his streaming rig, so his PC that he currently uses.
Oh, cool.
I actually built that for him. Went down, sorted his PC out, showed him this, that, and the other, and I got back home and I thought, do you know what? I've got a really good gaming PC. I've got the necessary skill set for the applications and everything else. Why don't I start streaming? So I started, I think it was just a couple of light streams every now and again, playing some Conan Exiles, where I bumped into, and it was just luck by habit that the likes of Nina Infinity were on the server, Jane Theory, Kara Creates, X-Ray Girl, Heel versus Babyface was on the server, loads of people on the server, and I was just in the right place at the right time, and so yeah, a couple of Conan Exile streams, and I thought, yeah, I'm okay with this. I was a little bit nervous and anxious at first when I started streaming, thinking, oh, I have to get the applications all right, I've got to get the stream keys all right, I've got to get this in the right order. So it was slightly nerve-wracking at first, I would say, certainly for the first month or so. It was just getting into that rhythm of getting everything sorted and streaming. Yeah, so Galadorn in chat, Script Doctor as well, Tugs, Shad, so Shadiversity was on the server as well. And slowly over time, I realized that a lot of the skill sets that I'd picked up in the armed forces just translated so well to the organization,
That's
making
good to
sure
hear.
that the apps were all corrected. The fact that I could take a load of code that I had additionally wrote to make life a lot easier for me creating my streams. And slowly over the course of certainly 2023, it was like the first couple of months. And then Nina Infinity reached out and says, "Do you want to play Baldur's Gate 3?" And I'm like, hell yeah. Over the course of 6 months, both myself and Nina played Baldur's Gate 3 religiously on stream. And I take my hat off to Nina. She basically had me underneath. I say Nina and Dante. Dante was one of the main guys in the Nina Baldur's Gate 3 streams. And yeah,
It's a small world. Like
it
that's
is.
such
It's
a
so
weird
bizarre.
phrase to say nowadays compared to when you said it 20 years ago, where the world was a lot, well, we just weren't as connected before, and it's wild where you run into somebody at the grocery store or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, small world or whatever. But now it's like our world is so small because yeah, we're
Yeah.
in these different servers or listening to a show like Friday Night Tights or kind of what have you, and it's just like, yep, I know this person, and we think we know somebody as a certain way, and then they have five other streams that they're either on or play games or produce or a mod or whatever. And it's like, oh wow, I didn't know you were into all that as well. Drunk 3POJ is the
Yeah.
case that I use. I'm like, I just thought he was that guy that was on Geeks and Gamers every once in a while, and then like, no, he's got pirates and then
Park hopping.
walking and park hopping and all this stuff. I'm like, wow, like all these people are very multidimensional,
Yeah.
in
They,
the things that they've experienced in life. You said your military experience, your communications and technology has helped you in this kind of way, and similar to mine, my planning, my operations and event planning, travel, all that doing speaking engagements has kind of got me to where I am here online now. But yeah, I just got to make these little tweaks, and like you said, took you a couple months to get that kind of set up,
the
or really
biggest so
diving in.
yeah, so one of the things that obviously how I've approached how I've approached most of my streaming is I'm constantly doing that kind of like 360 look back at what I've done over the course of the last year. What can I improve upon? Where am I struggling the most in terms of my streaming? Whether it's okay thumbnails, content, whether it's descriptions, and then it's like okay, right, okay, look, let's have a look at some of the bigger streamers. What are they doing? How are they doing their thumbnails? What are they doing with their descriptions? And there's loads of little hints and tricks that I've kind of like picked up from so many different people, like Jay, like the Geeks and Gamers, all of the big guys, even through to the smaller guys as well.
Yep.
And one of the things that I like to pride myself on, because I have got this massive opportunity of working from home so I can watch streams, I can bounce around 10, 15 different streamers on a daily basis. Pop in for an hour, watch some content, interact with their community, network a little bit more with them, and it can be anything from music channels to art channels, coding channels, and gaming channels. Gaming channels is where I mostly frequent, or it's the podcast related content like Drunk
Yeah.
Freak. But I find it's given me that opportunity, certainly over the last couple of years, to really improve some of the stuff that I do. And there's a chap, I don't know if you know Daramuth. He's mostly over on Rumble. Um, I'll,
Maybe heard
I'll
the name.
I'll get you introduced.
Okay.
And so what Dara does is does interviews like we're doing right now, where we're talking to different content creators. And I think he's up to something like 120, might be up to 130 different interviews that he's done with people over the course of a couple of years. And he does this thing on a Friday. It's called a pay it forward stream, where he takes a small amount of what his Rumble earnings were for the month, and pays it forward to other small creators, like a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there, just for those really small content creators, really small streamers
Yeah.
that see very little traffic. And in a ways, what he's trying to do is obviously improve their day, get a bit of networking done, interact with them. And he had invited me onto one of these pay it forward streams, and I thought, do you know what? I can do something very similar, not carbon copy identical, let's copy what he's doing and just do the same thing. I like to iterate and see if I can make it my own in some way. And the easiest way for me was the Sunday Spotlight, which is obviously what we're on today, where I would talk to other streamers, look at other content creators, look to see people that were struggling to get up to the 500 subs or even get up to the 100 subs.
That's where I'm at. I'm at the 200 something subs, and yeah, just trying to get to the next spot, but not knowing how to do it. And then I'll go into, rabbit holes, be like, oh, maybe I need to work on lighting, or I mean, it took a lot for me to get a camera even set up, other than a tablet type thing. But yeah, I just go, I get in a mode set, be like, okay, I'm gonna put all my concentration into this. I'm gonna save up for a camera, save up for a mic.
Yeah.
And then you learn that, oh, now you need software to make each one work, and then it doesn't work, and then you need so that's where I'm at. I'm just kind of going down all these routes and trying to figure it out and running issues. Mo Zamboni, he's been amazing. Just been helping me out, giving me tips and here or there. So yeah, I didn't know that, content creators did this pay it forward or spotlight to help other people. That's huge. That's very authentic, the way people talk about it. Yeah, I appreciate you doing this.
No, and it's one of those things because I was quite lucky with bumping into Mr. Porkchop, X-Ray Go, and all the guys, Nina, Infinity, and what have you. That set me up in such a way that I feel like I leapfrogged a large portion of a creator's journey. And as a result, I'm doing this as my kind of like my karma for that good grace that I've received. So when it comes to creating guides for how to set up certain applications, overlays, what softwares to use, all of those types of things, I'm using my time now to try and get all of that stuff that I've learned over 2 years just compressed into maybe a half an hour video with all of the chapters, and say, right, if you want to learn how to make overlays like the one that we're currently sat in, I could turn around to people and say, guys, this overlay that we're currently sat in, this was 2 minutes of work, and you can do exactly the same. And as long as you've got a access to Adobe Express, a lot of people use Canva, other people use different applications. Me, primarily, I use Adobe Express for it, because Adobe Express, you can actually sign up to Adobe Express for free, and you can create all of these things for free. There's a premium side to Adobe Express, but you can create this entire overlay completely free, and all you have to do is just sign up for an Adobe Express account.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Like I said, there's things that you don't know that can solve the problem, and especially like you said, in a free version, like this would be perfect of what I'm looking for, but I wouldn't even know where to begin. It'd be like seeing a cabin or a house, be like, yeah, I'd like to live there. I have no idea where to start when it comes to either making my own or obviously making it, by using the materials to make it happen. So no, that's incredible. Cause yeah, I've been just banging my head, trying to figure out all the details, and then something seems like it's too tough, so you go work on something else, and you should have spent a little bit more time over here. But
I use Adobe Express
that you're talking about.
Dara, ha! We were just talking about you. I was just talking about your Pay It Forward stream and how the Sunday Spotlight was born from your Pay It Forward. It's good to see you, bro. It's good to see it. But yeah, I'm gonna flip us into this view. Let's flip us in view. I need to add you to this scene, make you a little bit smaller. Let's throw you across here.
Yep. So this is my physical media warriors. This is where I really just want to dive into pop culture, type stuff, especially the things that I know the best. Old consoles. Some people call it retro gaming, or DVDs, VHS. So that's kind of my wheelhouse, things that I enjoy the most. So that's kind of just my fun channel right there.
Yeah.
But where I just got that kind of started doing live streams over there. But I really, what I'm working on right now is my main channel, the Operation Outstanding in Field. So this is my recovery channel. I don't know if I'd call it that, or who knows what I call it. This is my me channel, where it's like I'm doing physical sports, adaptive sports. This kind of helps me. This is my life building, I guess, of where I've been, what happened before, now where I'm taking my life. And so if people want to know who I am, like, this is a good channel to kind of dive into, because there's different aspects to it. It's that there's a 30-minute long documentary where it shows my first 12 months after Guillain-Barré syndrome, where that's like a huge thing, or it's broken down into episodes. I had a videographer kind of professionally do this. So that was a huge thing that helped out me, because at that time I couldn't move my hands. My mind wasn't responding to computers and such. So I'm in a little bit better place now. So now I can start creating these my own.
Yeah, I've dropped the link, ladies, gents. I've dropped the link into chat. Can you do me an absolute solid? I see plenty of people. So we've certainly got plenty of people over on YouTube, Twitter, and over on Rumble. Can you do me an absolute solid, guys? Just pop in and do us both the honor, just popping in and taking a look at the content. And if you want to then subscribe, because what I also like to do as well, Drew, is I don't tell people to go into a channel and just simply subscribe.
Yeah.
Go in, look at the about section, go in, look at the playlists, find something there, go watch it. After you've watched it, if it's interesting, drop a comment, then hit the like, then hit the subscribe, and hit all of the notification bells and stuff like that.
I like that.
Because it's what I'm this is going to be really, really, really funny. I never advertise my own stuff in as much as come and sub to me, I'm Tombi, I'm great kind of thing, because it's just not in my nature, not in my wheelhouse. Other content creators, where they give you mod rights or rent rights and say, please shout out your stuff. I never ever do. It's one of those things, as just in myself, I never want to feel like I'm overshadowing someone else by going into their channel and saying subscribe to Tombi kind of thing. But I do the complete opposite on my channel. I want people to come into my channel. If you're a content creator or a streamer, you'll get mod rights straight away. You can shout out your stuff as much as you like. If you've got an interview coming up, if you've got an event coming up, you come into the chat, just drop those links. I'm all for getting as many people into my chat to shout out their stuff. It does help in a way, and I'll explain that in a second. You were just going to say?
No, yeah, that's great. One thing I'm wondering about is mods. What do mods do? How do people become mods? Like, what's ethics, I guess, when, like, inviting somebody to become a mod on your channel or asking to be one on somebody else's channel. That's a world that I'm kind of new to.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to jump into
mod world.
Yeah, we're going to jump straight into this stream. So this is us currently, and the way obviously we're going to crack on. By the way, now chat is a lot of the things that we try and do to help streamers and content creators that come on the Sunday Spotlight is look at where they're struggling in terms of either ideas, content, applications, you name it, or just explaining what certain things are. So mods wise, now the idea behind what a moderator is to basically control the chat so that if there's any issues, any disputes, any trolling, any naughtiness from any of the members of the chat, they can deal with it. They can either time someone out, delete a message, answer a message, or generally point people in the right directions with information. So think of them as almost like a first line of customer service when it comes to a channel. It allows the streamer or the content creator to then spend time entertaining, whereas you've got the guys in the chat, those that are deemed as moderators, to
kind of like a perimeter security.
Yeah, basically. And
Streamer, look at chat. Look at chat, streamer.
that there is a blurb. So that thing there, that little audio alert, is another application that allows the chat to play little audio snippets, and mostly it's for when you're playing video games. Say you're playing a horror survival game, and then someone does a jump scare noise at you in the background, and you shit yourself. It's funny for 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes later they do exactly the same thing, and you shit yourself more. But I don't have anybody in my chat designated as a mod, because I've never needed to have anyone to look after it. Not saying it's not going to happen at some point, but because there's too few people in my chat, I don't generally attract the trolls or the bad actors within my chat, and therefore no one really needs to be a mod. Those that have got the wrenches, that allows them to shout out their own stuff, shout out other people's stuff. It's just a elevated permission within the chat, so they can drop URLs and drop links to things. For example, if C&D Designs wanted to drop a link to Drunk 3PO's next live stream, he's got the ability to do that because he's got the wrench. So the way I started to approach my wrenches is, if you are a content creator or a streamer and we've interacted on a level so that I understand that you're not a dick or anything like that, then I will quite happily promote that person. It's easy enough to remove. I mean, if I look at Daramoof right at the minute, Daramoof should be a moderator. So you hit the three little dots, add as moderator, and you've got two different types. You've got a managing moderator, think of that as commander-in-chief. He has got all of the power. Or a standard moderator, which is just your unit commander or whatever it may be. So Daramoof, standard moderator, hit save, job done. You can do this from the back end as well, but I find it's so much easier to just do it in the chat there and then, because most of the people that are in chat you interact with quite regularly. Da Vinci also says, trolls following certain games or certain types of content. Most mature streamers attract mature audiences, not trolls. And this is another good point. So Da Vinci Gamer should also be a mod, because Da Vinci Gamer is also a good friend of the channel and a content creator as well. He's also quite right here. So if you are a younger streamer or an energetic streamer, let me put it that way, that's playing Fortnite, you can almost guarantee you're going to attract a certain crowd of individuals, because we're talking about Sunday Spotlight and it's not on everybody's radar.
That's a good point.
You can almost guarantee that you get a much more mature audience as a result. And we also curate a lot of the audience from the people we interact with on other channels. I know full well that Narganol, I've interacted with Narganol on many different channels. I know the reason he's come across to this channel is because I've interacted with GCA or Drunk 3POs or Geeks and Gamers, you name it. People generally start to recognize your name as being in the mix to the chat. And it's definitely one of the things in terms of growth that I advertise to absolutely anybody. No one's going to find your content if no one knows who you are, and no one knows to look for you. So if you're interacting with people on a regular basis in chats, and it doesn't matter whether it's a small community or a large community, Drunk 3PO is a perfect example of this, where he'll have 4,000 people watching him on one day, 500 on the next. But because you're interacting with him and you're interacting with the audience, that is one of the key things. Always say hello to the audience. Always say hello to the individuals that are in there. And very soon you'll find, as soon as you jump into those people's chats and say, hi guys, how you all doing? Instantly you got 20 people all shouting your name. And it snowballs as an effect. But mods, I generally just wrench people so that they can shout their own stuff off, because there's so many good content creators like ourselves that are on the smaller side rather than the big side. But this gives them a chance to actually shout it out to other channels. So anybody that's currently in chat, by the way, guys, anyone that's currently in chat, if you're a content creator and you've got mod rights, shout your stuff out. And in fact,
I haven't heard that opinion before, or that course of action. Yeah, so I appreciate that insight. That you don't necessarily need people to curate certain conversations, but having them there to kind of shout out their other stuff or your guest thing. That's a great. Yeah.
The other thing that I've got that's just about to start going off is I make use of my Stream Deck. So I've got a Stream Deck. I've got a single button that I've scripted probably about 200 different streamers' links in. And what will happen is every 6 minutes or so, it chooses a random person's channel and says, go subscribe to XYZ, go subscribe to 123. Comics Dad, I can see Comics Dad has just shouted himself out. This is what I expect. This is 100% what I expect of every content creator and streamer to do if they get wrenches in my channel. That's what I expect them to do. It has a benefit, not just to them, but it also has a benefit to you. So in the back end, when we look at things like analytics, so I'm just going to flip into analytics on this one.
Sure.
There is a, and it's how would I say this without sounding like a dick? It's a benefit in kind.
Yeah.
So the more people that chat in your streams, the higher the algorithm will push you. And there's this value called chat rate. And that kind of like indicates how busy the chat is. So if you give permission for people to
take my money.
C&D Designs with a super chat, I'll get to that in just a second, sir. So if you give permission to people to shout their stuff out and they're doing it, they're increasing that analytic value.
And that's a good thing, because I watch so many channels and they're all about the super chats or all about this or hitting goals and whatever like that. And then, it depending on their quality, and it could come off as very casual. I know some channels who are able to play it very well. Maybe they've been doing it since 2005 and they've been tweaking so far. But then some channels, it's just like, it just feels like a telethon type show, and I never want to gravitate towards that. So I like that you say that there's other ways to benefit. And some of the guys that that I watch, that we watch, the geeks and gamers and stuff, they're like, you don't have to donate, you don't have to do it, we appreciate every single one.
Yep.
Depending on their show, they'll shout it out on that episode every single time, which I appreciate. And but I like that they say, we're happy that you're here, that you're clicking, that you're interacting.
Yep.
That you're talking in the chat, you're promoting your stuff. Just don't be a jerk, or if you're going to be a jerk, you're going to get jerk things back to you.
Exactly.
So yeah, managing those expectations is cool. But yeah, I really like that you said it's a benefit that is very easily done, that doesn't require a lot of friction or money or whatever.
Correct. Because and that's one of the things I always said, because I've got a reasonably good job, I never need to monetize the shit out of the Tombi channel or any of the channels. Now, I'll stream to YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitter, Twitch, all at the same time.
Wow.
And I originally, for the first 5 months, I was YouTube only. And then I saw the writing on the wall in terms of how certain platforms were treating certain creators. So I thought, right, let's spread out and stream on every platform, see where we grow, see where my content grows, whether it's Tombi doing gaming, Tombi doing a podcast, Sunday Spotlight, and then address it after a year or so, or after a year and a half, and see how far we've gone. Now, that journey, and I'll deal with C&D Designs in just a second, sir. That journey has basically taught me that live streams really suffer on YouTube. They really do. But long form content, creating a video guide really excels on YouTube. Great. So that's lesson number one that I've learned. Twitch is so oversaturated with creators that it's nigh on impossible at this point in time to grow on Twitch. Plus, their political leanings suck massive donkey cock. And they've got an absolute bell end for a CEO. So Dan Clancy's a fucking idiot. Twitch, so Twitch, I knocked Twitch on the head as a gaming streaming platform. I don't stream my games there anymore. I'll stream the podcasts just to keep the channel alive, but I don't put my gaming content there because it doesn't grow.
The grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah,
and depending on how the soil is, and in other conditions. But yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And things change, because I hear different things. Oh, it's all about Twitch. People are making $20,000 a month for not doing a lot. But then that switch, they change a policy, and that complete switch. Now it's Kick, but now Kick's not doing what they promised. So it's like you hear all these, and their opinions too, based on that creator's experience with these different platforms and maybe the content they're doing. But there's probably some truth to it as well. But that takes time to evaluate it. And then you have the whole Rumble that's been doing a lot, in the last couple of years. But then that has its issues too. That's interface and different things. So I like but all that to say, I like your idea of planting these things in different areas and then monitoring it and then making kind of small shifts.
Yeah, and you've got to look at it from the small shifts perspective, because things change so surprisingly. Things are changing so slowly across the board, across most of them, with the exception of Rumble. Rumble is changing very, very fast, and its growth is kind of exploding right now. Kick, I've literally kicked to the curb, pun intended, because of seeing so little growth. I would say I've seen the same growth on Twitch that I have on Kick, where I've gone up probably 200 subs or 200 followers in 2 years, which doesn't seem too massive, not for streaming potentially 7 days a week, multiple different times, and a lot of effort gone in. Whereas you look at YouTube, and I'm going to say up until a certain video, it took 2.5 years to get to basically 2,000 followers or 2,000 subs, and a single video exploded me past 10,000.
Yeah,
a single freaking video, and it was a trailer.
That's life as well, but it's hard to conceptualize that, where you can work so hard on something, and then other people are
shut up and take my money,
doing it well, and then you kind of leave it for a little while. And then you just put out one video, and then it skyrockets. You know what I mean? And that's been my experience with X, with Twitter. It's like, I'm just doing my thing, and then you were asking kind of earlier how I got started with this stuff. Is just like people asked me to do interviews, and I started doing them, and then I started, that went to whatever audience, and then I threw it up on my stuff, and then that got a boost, and then I started doing more, and really wasn't putting a lot of effort into it and getting traction. Then I started putting effort into it and felt like I wasn't getting enough traction or what I created before. But then you just have to realize that that's kind of life. You're going to work hard, and it's not going to get you as far as you want to go. But then you're going to get lucky every once in a while, and you got to recognize that those luck times are because you were planting the seeds, for a while. Yeah, and you're completely right. Rumble for me. So I was streaming on Rumble for probably a year and a half before their content creator new wave came through, and lucky enough, I was accepted into the Rumble Creator Program on the new batch that came through, and I was like, fantastic. And since then, I've been pushing Rumble as much as I can do to as many people
as I can, because Rumble is where I feel YouTube was 10, maybe 12 years ago. At its growth is going up.
Wow.
It's in that position where a lot of effort is going into the application to make it a good streaming application. Rumble Studio itself, Rumble Studio has improved. Their GUI has improved over the course of the last just 2 weeks alone. They've
wow.
added a lot of changes into their GUI. So if I bring up the Rumble Studio GUI, and I will go to CND Designs. I've almost forgotten CND Designs. So if I share this one, so this is essentially the Rumble Studio now. Whereas once upon a time, it used to be a really bad, really horrible interface where you didn't really get much joy in terms of seeing what you would want to see. Now Rumble Studio is integrated chat. You've got various different streaming platforms that you can stream to. You can lock down and make the stream exclusive on Rumble. You can get your stream key details. You can update all of your title descriptions, replace your thumbnails, all from within Studio now. Plus, it gives you a really good breakdown at the top, how long you've been streaming, what resolution, bitrate, and all that good stuff. This only came about within the last 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And it's shifted so much in the last 6 months. I would say definitely to Mo Zamboni, the last time that he did the Rumble Studio review, do that review again. And you'll probably find that it's in a much better position. Definitely much better position.
That's a good idea. I wonder if he said he got a lot of traction out of doing that type of stuff. I told him it helped me for sure watching those videos and then being on a couple. That might be a good idea to like come back and see like, all right, that's how it was before. Now let's look at how it is now. And that's cool. You're saying that's made a lot of traction in 2 weeks.
And it's Fiery Vision in chat as well. I just want to give this lad a bit of a shout. Just like us, small creator, he's just on his way. So Fiery over on Rumble has just gone past his first 100 followers. He's now at 102. So if you're over on Rumble, guys, if you've got a Rumble account, go jump across over to Fiery. Let's see if we can get him up to 110 at least. That'll be a good result for today. I'm going to go back to CND Designs for 5 massive dib dobs. Thank you very much indeed, sir. What's up, chat? Good to see everyone as always. Hail the rebellion. Comics Dad, the statues are coming. Got a thing printing for Steel Leg right now. Ooh.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, C&D Designs is a legend. It's good to see you as well, Toasty. Plenty of people in chat. And then Dante. Dante's just become a member as well. Thank you very much indeed. So every now and again, you'll hear sound alerts and all sorts of crazy shit going on screen. So I'm going to flick through a couple of different sites at the minute. So I use
like this. How many studios, and I'm going to say the wrong words, but how many things are you using right now? Because obviously you're in the streaming software.
So we're using EV Mux
for the studio.
Yeah, we're using EV Mux for the studio.
Okay.
So if I was to, how can I share?
You're not in any other studio right now, but you can see metrics, right? Because you're restreaming to them, so those are going to get metrics based on the stream for each.
I'm going to try and stream. I want to see if I can stream EV Mux window. Entire screen. Yes, let's share this one. Cool. I don't want to share audio. Oh, it's not letting me. Well, that's kind of gay.
But yeah, what is the name? Daremuth?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was asking earlier if I'm new. I'm newer. Maybe he didn't catch the earlier part of the stream, but so I was at the kind of the peak of my performance, I guess, in 2021, and then went into a coma for 10 days and hospitalized for 6 months. Every system, my body shut down and had to be relearned, like I was a like just being born, pretty much. But speeding up, kind of like the Billy Madison of health, is I had to go through everything in a short amount of time when it comes to the body. So part of that is like the cognition, which I've many issues of related to different stuff throughout the military and other things. So yeah, part of putting this together is I have some experience, been doing presentations online on Zoom, on different platforms, Skype for years, presenting to 2-star generals and debriefs and all that kind of stuff. But my mind and body have been put into a blender and shaken up and do all that. So I'm renew, I guess. Consider me renew to the on atmosphere. But also at the same time, there's been a lot of changes technology in the last 5 years when it comes to all this stuff. For the longest time, I could only use a phone, so I'm barely able to use my thumbs. Fortunately, you can get a lot of stuff done on a phone when it comes to
I'm back.
all the daily stuff. But the whole getting back to using a tower computer, multi-screens, multi-software tabs, I'm very new to that, at least in this new state of mind and body I'm in. So I appreciate all the insights, all the people I've worked with. Me, Horny Elf, and Tiny have done a pop culture Patriot show weekly on Sundays. We're on pause right now, but we're starting back up in a couple weeks. And so, yeah, just kind of putting all these things together. It's a really cool new journey.
I think I've just broke chat. My whole entire screen just decided to freeze.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I had to jump out of the studio to jump back into it. So I think I've broken chat. So I'm just going to open it up on the side.
Yeah.
Just so I'm not missing anything.
Yep, no problem. And yeah, to Dr. Comics Dad, hey, no worries. Yeah, like we'll put this back up, like the different collaborating with each other and stuff like that. I like that, we're all doing a million different things with our own lives and family and career and, side projects, main career, like all these different things. So it's kind of cool that we have all these ideas and working together. And it doesn't have to happen all in the same week or.
No.
I like how Tombi, how you said, be like, okay, the earliest I can do it is June, late June or whatever it was. And it's like, I look at my calendar and it's, yep, we can make this happen. And then you just kind of put that there and you do a little prep and stuff as it's coming up. But yeah, I've relied less on everything's got to happen right now, so urgent and important. And it's like, nope, we can make a good pace.
I've found that certainly when it comes to streaming, when it comes to creating content, so live streams. So if I'm doing a video game live, that can happen as early as tomorrow, no issues at all. You can swing something really, really quickly. When it comes to creating, say, long form content as a video guide, I like to set myself at least a minimum of a week to get that content created, then uploaded. So I've got like a Monday carved out. So I'll tell you what, let me show you. Right.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like scheduling. So like your own personal schedule for, well, because there could be multiple schedules. Well, there could be your main thing, I guess, main source of income people have. So it's like, oh yeah, my day job, I'm doing this. But then also intermittently, you're listening to streams, other people's shows. So there's a schedule for that too, because they happen at certain times. But then you have your own time where you want to work on your own things. So that's not on screen, but you've got to dedicate time to prep a video like that. And then there's the other thing where it is streaming or you're playing a video game and you got to have that start and end time. Or you'll go on somebody's show and man, it could be just a 10-minute interview or 4 or 5 hours of just being there. I'm trying to make sense of that kind of world right now.
So this is essentially Adobe Express. So these are all kind of like thumbnails I've created over the course of since January. Believe it or not, my whole thumbnail game changed dramatically as soon as I started using Adobe Express. If I was to just quickly bring up at the real Tombi booth, let's do it the quick way. And let's go to some of my old... Oh, no, I can hear myself. hit no thanks. Let's go to me. Let's
Well,
share
that's a
this
good
one.
question there. You don't listen to yourself in the headphones ever?
So I've got myself coming through, so I can just hear my voice. But I was playing the video, so I could hear
Oh,
the
okay.
video playing, and that's one thing I just nope, just turn off the sound of my own voice coming back from me. So I do have it just loud enough so I can hear it that I am actually talking.
That it actually exists. Okay.
Yeah. So looking at the thumbnails, so this is one thing I wanted to just quickly show. Looking at your own stuff, I can see you using playlists, which is absolutely bob on. I use multiple different playlists, even just for one video. That could have 2 or 3 different playlists. It could have playlists to cover it under gaming. It could have a playlist to cover it under a specific game. Podcasts usually have a podcast playlist plus what podcast it is. But if I go into, say, and you'll see a lot of playlists. This thumbnail where I've just taken an image of the game, I've slapped my face on it. Not particularly enticing in any shape or form. It was good enough for the time, but like this was 7-8 months ago, and I was like, do you know what? These thumbnails just don't look as good as other people's. And there's another streamer, and he does a lot of video guides. Nutty, his name is. And I looked at the way that he was doing his thumbnails, in as much as he had his character or he had his an image of himself. I never share images of myself on a thumbnail, not anymore, because I'm too bloody ugly. But when I started looking at the way he was doing his thumbnails, he would have his self on screen plus an image of the thing that he wanted to discuss, plus a bit of writing at a certain angle.
Yeah.
And I started to imitate the same style, and I found that my thumbnails, as a result, and I create thumbnails for Steel Leg all the time as well, but I found that the thumbnails, just by doing this, just looks so much better in presentation, so much better set up. But because I was using Adobe Express, if I was to say, right, okay, let's think of a new video game that's coming out. Let's have a look at, say we were going to do Clair Obscure. I could say, right, duplicate this one. Once it's duplicated, I could just quickly change that. Clair Obscure. Don't
Okay.
need to
So that's
change.
very repeatable. You can.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I could just then go on, find a Clair Obscure wallpaper. I'm just going to download a random one in the background. Let's grab that one, save image, and just slap that there. And then in this one, just going to click the replace button, replace with an upload, go to that image, wherever I've slapped it. I've slapped it somewhere. Now, no, my luck, I can't bloody find it. Yeah, where did you go?
No, I like that it's effective and it's ease of use that you can
Yeah,
kind of go about it. That's
Yep.
great.
and you can just quickly replace an image. You can replace the background. So if you know, say, one of the things I'm trying to teach Steel Leg to do with his thumbnails is that if the game, say he's playing Batman, which is a very dark, broody game, when he's changing the kind of like the wallpaper that sits in the background, change that to a nighttime scene, select it from the image, say, right, okay, which one works well with the specific image, which colors really work well with the Batman kind of theme, and select that, and Bob's your uncle, 2 minutes, 5 minutes max, and you've got a decent thumbnail to then start using. And the good thing with Adobe Express is that you can then, I know it's very small there, you can download it in a variety of different sizes. You can download it in 4K, 1080p, And if I wanted to, I can also animate the words coming in. So let's have this starting outside the page. So it comes in. And when you go to download this now, it now creates a video instead.
Okay.
And it's so easy. So I use these as the kind of like the intros for all of the Hump Day chin wags.
Well, it can be a thumbnail on a YouTube
Exactly.
video, but also a
Placeholder video.
Yeah, placeholder video. Yeah, intro, whatever. Just that's great.
Yep. So I use this heavily for overlays as well. So I'll create all of the overlays. I actually created this overlay just before we started because I realized I didn't have one for a little me and a big you. So this one that we switched to, this one I created just before the show, and it was a quick couple of minutes. So we're still in EV Mux using the overlay that I've just created in.
You created the overlay in Adobe Express.
Yep.
And then incorporated it into EV Mux.
Yeah, because I can load it in. So say I had I want this as my webcam. So let's zoom in. I want this as my webcam. Say I want your webcam, and say I want to just put a share screen over there. Say I want to get chat. I could squeeze chat in, rearrange the sizes, make chat the full screen. Okay, the layout's a bit garbage. Let's make that in the center. Let's drop you down slightly. Let's drop me down slightly. And then I can download that, download it as an MP4, and that becomes the overlay that I then just copy and paste into EV Mux. And as long as I then put my webcam in the right place.
If I use the wrong word, like what is it called in EV Mux where you're adding
it? I've literally just called it an overlay. And it's just a media. So in EV Mux, the shame is I can't.
I had a trial version of EV Mux last week, so I don't have it anymore. But I know what you're talking about, where you're adding it as.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
There are different names, themes, and layouts, and.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the image. So I've just taken a quick snapshot. So it goes in as a media file, and as long as that media file is the item that's on the bottom of your layers, because in OBS, so OBS and EV Mux are very, very similar in as much as you've got scenes that you switch between. Right. In OBS, they call them sources. In EV Mux, they call them layers. Interestingly, if you use Meld Studio, which is similar to OBS, they also call them layers. So those they all work in exactly the same way, and I like to see or like to refer to EV Mux as OBS in the cloud. Because it almost gives me everything that I need to do in order to share content and stuff like that on screen.
Would you recommend? So I'm trying to decide between Restream and EV Mux. Basically, is where I want. If I want to make this my passion project, which one should I dive into? I'm considering EV Mux. And for the value too, or for the cost.
Yeah. From a cost to value perspective, both of them do give an exceptional product. So you would be successful in using either one. I just lean more to EV Mux because when StreamYards had their massive, expensive, we're going to charge everybody like a freaking $90, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was Roger Ryan Affe recommended EV Mux to me at the time. And ever since I jumped onto EV Mux, it's just got better and better and better with more integrations coming all the time. There's stuff that you can do in EV Mux that you cannot do in Restream. I've had, apart from the first 2 streams, which was way over a year and a half ago, I've had basically 0 issue with EV Mux since. Okay. And our Hump Day podcast on our Wednesday, we can have, and we have had up to 10 people, 11 people on a stream, pumping out to 9 different locations. and it
Yeah.
hasn't skipped a beat.
That's awesome. So yeah, so Nagarnal says EV Mux is a bit complicated for beginners, but I'm in a spot where how long am I going to be a beginner? So
Yeah.
I only want to be a beginner as long as I have to be. And so if EV Mux is the right thing for me to be a beginner for a short amount of time and then switch over to like, all right, I kind of got this. I can learn a few more things. And then in 6 months or a year, I'm utilizing a good percentage of what EV Mux has.
Yeah.
So I can see myself doing that. Like I don't want to be casual about this. I want to keep stepping up. We talked about before. That's my personality. I know what I want to go after. This is a tool in my toolkit. So I want to figure out how to use the tool in all the best ways to get to where I want to going.
EV Mux is also very, very good in. You've got so when you first set up EV Mux, it's just you in there. You've got your projects. So you've got your individual projects, of which you can have as many as you like. I've got probably 20 projects in the background. I've got my Sunday Spotlight. I've got my 2Ts podcast with the wife. I've got Hump Day Chinwag. Each one of those can have separate studios. So separate ones of these, different layouts, different scenes. I can copy and paste scenes from one project to a completely different project. I can even create a series of scenes, give you the export code, and you can import that same scene into your projects, even though the accounts don't even mix. And this is where I've helped Comics Dad set up Comics Dad's EV Mux. I've helped Queen Comics set up hers.
Okay.
It's exceptional in being able to help each other collaborate. And they do call it collaborators because you can have up to 4 collaborators on any one project. So say we're on Sunday Spotlight right now. I can have 4 collaborators on this project. I go across to the Hump Day Chinwag. I can have a different 4 collaborators. And it doesn't impact. The only limitation with EV Mux is only one studio can be live at any one time, which is completely fine.
Right.
Because I'll send. There's a reason why I've just said that, and I'll tell you in Twitter. But lots of different people can have projects in there. Cough, wink, cough. So in the downtimes when I'm not using it, someone else might be using it.
Gotcha.
Cough, wink. And it just cuts down on the cost across the board for everybody because I don't use it on a Monday or a Tuesday. Someone else can quite happily go in and create a project and use it on those 2 days. Doesn't impact me.
So is that the standard one or pro?
That is the $40 a month version. Now, the free version or the cheaper version doesn't give you access to all of the stuff that you're seeing that mine's doing right now, so like the pro scenes. So the bog standard version, you get a dynamic scene which kind of reacts to how many people are on the screen at any one time. Very much works like StreamYards does. And you can share things on screen, you can talk to people, and it is sufficient for those kind of things. But if you wanted to, like, say, have a look at those widgets in the top right, which says 20 people are watching on YouTube, 52 watching on Twitter, that's one of the pro scene widgets. The scrolling text at the bottom, support Drew and Give Send Go, that is a widget. Seeing the chat, Ko-fi that's just above me, that's a widget that EV Mux has added.
Okay.
But they've also given you, so in the background, when you go to, say, add some of the customization, you can add animated captions, AI-generated images, media files, so that's music, that's videos. You can have a slideshow. Web sources, absolutely key. So if someone subscribes over on YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitter, Twitch, whatever it may be, in that box over there, pops a Botrix alert or a blurb or whatever to say someone is now subscribed. Apps and widgets.
Very
There's
effective.
so
Like,
much.
I've
There's
heard
so
people
much.
say, like, oh, you don't need pro. I'm like, well, I'd like to be in a place where I would need pro, or
Yes.
I could use pro now to get me faster to where I want to go.
Yeah.
if I dedicate the time and understanding and utilizing everything it has.
There's other benefits as well. So one of the other things that you can do with the pro version is connect up to 9 different outputs, 9 different destinations. So you send one bit of video stream into EVMux and let EVMux send to YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Kick, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it may be. But because they've only recently done it, enabled you to send RTMP video into EVMux, you can play a video game on your PC, send it into EVMux, and then get EVMux to do the heavy lifting of restreaming it to 15 different places or however many places that you need to. It cuts down on a lot of the overhead that your own machine, say you've got a potato PC or not necessarily a potato PC, say you've got a very slow internet connection where you can only afford to stream enough data for one 1080p video stream. Fine, nothing wrong with it. But what EVMux allows you to do is stream it to all of the other locations and it doesn't hurt your bandwidth.
Got it.
You kind of like sidestep your internet limitations and put the limitation on EVMux. So there's a lot of people say don't pay for premium, whereas I'm looking at it from if I'm paying for premium, I'm going to use their internet and their resources and their servers to relay all of my video to all of these different sources. I'm not having to do it now.
Good point. I like that.
So there's obviously there's swings and roundabouts with everything.
Yeah, I found a discount code for EVMux. That's pretty good. It was easy to find. Yeah. I think it was like 20% off or something.
No, that's good. Definitely most of these things try and use referral codes. Most people that you know will have referral codes for most of the applications. Blurps is what I use for my little audio alerts. So if I go into streaming dashboard, so anytime someone wants to do something funny, I'll just...
Mommy, a girl behind you.
So lots of different audio alerts, and the guys go nuts. The other thing as well is that Blurps does allow you to have memberships. So people can subscribe to your channels via Blurps, and you can connect it to YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It's another way of being able to monetize. I use all of the monetization for growing the channel or paying it forward to other people, but other people do use it as an income. Botrix is another one I use quite often for kind of like the alerts side of life. So if someone...
Get your fucking arse out of my face.
So that's the wife shouting at the cat, which Rick's just played. Thank you very much indeed. So I use Botrix, and specifically its alerting module to make note of when I've got new members, subscriptions, raids, super chats. So if I was to press this one as an example, how many send?
Shut up and take my money.
That alert comes up, and I know instantly that it's happened, because I don't want to be in a position where I'm missing things, because it's a little bit of interactivity.
I like that.
And that works for where is it? That works for Twitch, YouTube, Kick, technically TikTok, and a few other places. It doesn't work for Rumble yet, but it's at some point they'll make that.
So if they're watching on those platforms, there's a button that they can push to do that.
They don't need to. So when you're looking at your stuff on, say, YouTube,
or just it automatically does it.
It's automatic. It just
super chat or whatever.
It just takes care of it automatically, so they don't have to hit the subscribe button at all. So, or they don't have to press a magic button on the screen to tell me that they've subscribed. It's just fully automatic as part of it.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
What else is there? So one of the things I like to do, obviously conscious of time, because I don't want to take your too long. Where's my link gone? I'll close the window. I close the window. Right, just bear with me for a second. One of the things I like to do is just quickly pop onto your channel and we just quickly have a review, have a look at some of the ways you've got things laid out, some of the recommendations that I could do or I could suggest. So let me quickly open up this. I just heard myself again. I hate it. And click on this Operation Outstanding in Field. Operation Outstanding in Field. So I'm just...
Display your members proudly.
Thank you very much indeed, Rick. And that is Nina Infinity. So I've just put Drew's Operation Outstanding in Field in chat, guys. Drew is actually close to 300. He's at 277 subs. So if we can do an absolute solid, let's see if we can push that close to the 300, guys. You know you want to. So one of the things I like to do is just quickly have a kind of like a poke from my perspective and say, right, okay, what recommendations could I make almost immediately? And one of the things that I would say is change your description. And in doing so, what I like to say is this is one of the first opportunities.
Hey, cunts! Don't forget to click the subscribe button.
Cheers, Davyverse. Thank you very much indeed. One of the opportunities, one of the first opportunities any viewer that's coming to your channel is going to do is look at your about and see who you are. And I like to put enough information in here to kind of like entice people to look at that content. And if I open up this, and what I'm going to do is I drop these generally as a post at Drew Outstanding. Now, this is just a kind of like a first stab. So what I would love is when you get the opportunity is just have a look at this post. I'm going to tag you into the post so you know it's there.
Okay.
So you don't have to go looking for it. Why can't I? That's weird. Right, let's do it. Operation Outstanding in Field. So I'm going to tag your Operation Outstanding in Field account. And I'm going to post that.
I should get that notification.
And yeah. So.
Oh my god, he's naked and he's big and he's scary.
Cheers, X-Ray Girl. He's big and he's scary. So what I like to do is I take your descriptions. I try and find out as much as I can do about you from your videos and kind of like spit that into a kind of like a description of sorts. So what I would recommend is look through, obviously, this description, alter it however you need to, but copy and paste this as your kind of like description, because there's keywords in here that helps hook people into who you are, what you're doing, what you're talking about. Obviously, this was aimed at your physical media one, but just update this for your Operation Outstanding one. And if I go to mine, disjointed as I am, if I just quickly go to mine, I like to just describe things, what they're going to find, who I am, what the channel's all about, throw some emojis in there because emojis, people gravitate to emojis, and just a little bit of detail. It often helps when new people are coming in and looking at the channel. The one other thing that I do have with my channel, so go to my channel. If I wasn't live, you would see a video there. It's like a video introduction of who I am. So I talk for 2 minutes and say, welcome to the Tombi channel. On this, you'll find podcasts, gaming content, coding content, and you upload that in the YouTube studio. So you just make a quick recording, edit it however you like, put a bit of music on it if you need to, and then you upload it. Tag your stuff. If you're going to do podcasts, definitely tag the content as a podcast, because you get the additional option on your channel stream that says, right, okay, this person has got podcasts. He's got the Hump Day Chin Wag. He's got the 2 T's in the pod.
Would you say tag it as a podcast or?
Yeah, correct. So, when you're in YouTube Studio,
Yeah.
so we'll go to YouTube Studio, we'll go to content, and I'm going to just randomly, I'm just going to jump into this one. And in customization, where is it? Tell a lie, sorry. On the front page, where further down and you've got your playlists?
Yep.
Where you've got the new playlist, if you open it up, there is an option there for new podcast. And I'm just going to snap the image and I'll drop that image into Twitter as well for you.
Thank you.
I always recommend everybody make sure that you've created it. And then anytime you do a new episode on that podcast, just make sure that you go in and tag it. So you can see on the list above, you've got 2 T's in the pod, which has got the image or got the label of podcast at the end.
So when is it a podcast and not a podcast?
So podcast, in the way that I like to explain what a podcast is, I like to think of this from a perspective of someone in a car. If I'm sat in my car, could I listen to a piece of content without watching it? If I can listen to it and it's kind of like an interview, radio interview and stuff like that, then I would associate that as being a podcast, because I don't necessarily need to watch the content. I just need to listen to it. So I can put some headphones on. I can put it on the radio in the car.
Yeah.
It's a general discussion of who you are, who I am, talking about the news, talking about stuff that's going on, gaming, films, whatever it may be.
When you stick meat in your mouth, you want it to taste good.
Cheers, Psychonic Mongoose. Thank you very much indeed for the gifted membership. Some of the blurbs I've got are stupid, but it's also deliberate. So
it's a audio blurb for the item that they're doing, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so they don't know they're doing, or they're going to play a certain thing.
No, they 100% do.
Okay.
Because you get in Botrix, which is what that was. That was a Botrix alert for a gifted membership.
Right.
I've selected very specific audio responses. It's like Jay's.
When you stick meat in your mouth, you want it to taste good.
And then that's.
Wet, tight, and on my face!
And then there's Rick with a blurb. So Drunk 3PO's got his Rose Tico.
Yeah.
So he's got his video, Rose Tico, and that's what he plays every time that there is a gifted memberships. Whereas what I've got for Botrix is that all of that is automated. It just happens.
Okay, that's what I thought. He does it manually.
He does it manually.
I'm saying by setting up that, it'll do it automatically.
Correct.
And you're, as people in the chat stay longer, they know if I do a gifted membership, I'm going to get this voice.
Yes.
Okay.
Boobs.
Yes. Or like Davey Verse has just gone boobs. Boobs
So,
are great.
Is there a cost to that one?
None. Zero.
Okay. Yeah.
I try and approach everything with as minimal costs as I can do, because I know whilst I'm quite fortunate, I can justify certain costs. Not everybody else is in the same position.
Right.
But it's another reason why I recommend Rumble to everybody. Now, Rumble's got really, really low barrier to entry for the creator program. Whereas if you stream for 30 hours...
That's a fact, Jack! That's a fact, Jack!
Cheers, Grizzle. So if you stream for 30 hours and subscribe to Rumble Premium, which costs you $10 a month, you can apply for the creator program. And at the minute, they're accepting everybody.
Okay.
The following month, if you do those 30 hours in Rumble Studio again, add on top of that 5 hours of Rumble Premium content, which is just pressing a lock icon in the Rumble Studio, and you get a certain amount of watch hours, 200 watch hours, they will pay you well in excess of a couple of £100, a couple of $100, which is then paid for your Rumble Premium subscription.
Right.
Plus it then pays for EV Mux. It then pays for any other applications that you're then using. So I'm pushing as many people to use Rumble as a stepping stone to allow you then to have access to all of the applications that the bigger streamers are using, to use Adobe Express in a premium version for $30, whatever it is a month. Use that, because once you've kind of like got access to those apps, you're then reinvesting into your own channel and your content then starts growing massively.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point. Like, let's make that one of my big takeaways. Like, say I got three big takeaways after this video. What would be to get a Rumble, how do you say that, partner program type deal?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I want to focus on.
Yeah. What else is there? What else is there? So let me go back to... Crap. Have I closed it again? Crikey's sake. Operation Outstanding Infield. I keep on doing it. So we will start wrapping it up in a second, by the way, guys, because do you know what? Normally I only go for an hour and a half, and this is so much fun that it's blasted straight through 2 hours so far.
Yeah, right. It goes by quick.
Yeah, time flies. So definitely tag things as podcasts. If you've got podcasts, you've got your playlists. So keep your playlists going. The playlists you've got are completely perfect. They're fit for purpose. Certainly when you start doing other content, or if you start expanding, say you, because of some of the content I expect you to do on this channel, if you've got, say, hiking, outdoor events, have them as different playlists, because what you find, or certainly what I find as a viewer, if I go into someone's channel and they've got a specific playlist for all of their hiking stuff, or all of their outdoor activities, or all of their adventure sports, or whatever it is, I can just go into that one playlist and just cover everything else off. I can also find multiple different content creators that have exactly the same hiking playlists, and I could just bang them out one after the other, kind of like...
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out too, because like, click on my videos right now. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out a good way to organize, and playlist sounds like the best one, because basically I do a couple different things on here. I have my adaptive sports, and these kind of things overlap, but they're very different. So adaptive sports are one video that I upload, as well as speaking engagement. So you can see the speaking engagements on that right side up there.
So if it was me, so those two on the far right hand side, I would create a new playlist, and I would have that playlist just as speaking engagements.
Yep.
And I would make sure that these two have got speaking engagements checked off. The other thing as well is that obviously some of the content that we create can have more than one. Eureka! Cheers, Abe. Thank you very much indeed for the blow. These videos we can create can have more than one playlist. More than one playlist can be applicable. So whilst you've got two over on the far right hand side, they're both speaking, you're also speaking about your condition, or you're also speaking about time in the armed forces. So add an additional playlist for those, because when you then go across your playlist, you'll have speaking events, you could have armed forces related adaptive sports, you've got your syndrome related playlists and discussions there. All of those just make life easier for... do you know what? I like that chick's voice.
Yeah, she's awesome, Violet.
Mate, some of the music that she's created, or that she's sung, one of my favorites is when she did Show Must Go On by Queen. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, no, just to speak of that, how YouTube is awesome, and content creators and things like that, even people who do covers or whatever the case is, podcasts, anything, that helped me so much when I was in the hospital, because I had nothing to do but lay there and be in pain or out of it, or kind of whatever the deal is. So I listened to really good playlists, podcasts, all those, and I'm like, it helps even in a little bit of way. So that's another reason that helped me get into the point where I am today, and I want to create content in my own way, because these people have done it. They have skills. They put together a new venue and kind of form, in this thing. And yeah, those covers, they did an amazing jobs, either of metal Disney covers, Disney songs, but in a rock kind of way, or kind of the different things. And that kind of got me involved with like the Dan Vask kind of world.
Yep.
Yep.
Nagano actually says Jay gets so many dang memberships it would completely derail the stream if something played automatically every time. Do you know what? It's actually funny. So my biggest the biggest video that I did, or the one that certainly went viral enough that it created all of the kind of like subscriptions. So if I share this one, it's this Grand Theft Auto trailer. Hit 39,000 views.
Wow!
But it was the sheer amount of people coming in just subscribing, and it was going off all the time. It was constant. I just couldn't keep up with it. So I actually turned off Botrix for the live streams for about 2 weeks, because every couple of minutes it was just like bang, a subscribe, bang, a subscribe, which is a great feeling.
The other one, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're watching the other one and they're just subscribing to the account. It was just popping off.
It was
all
hitting
the time.
your current live stream.
Yep.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing, like good problems to have that you start wondering and change things. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, so that's gonna be another one, is me working on the descriptions and the playlist.
Yep.
What did you do there?
Thank you very much indeed. Rick! Posts. Never underestimate the power of a good post. Keep your chat or keep the community updated. I try and post at least twice a week.
Twice a week, you do?
Yeah. I try and do at least twice a week. Certainly for the most important streams, so like Sunday Spotlight today, Hump Day Chinwag, I'll make sure they're posted. The 2Ts podcasts, I'll make sure they're posted. But if I also do a stream every now and again, I think the wife's coming in to say hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Still live.
Say again.
You're still live.
I am still live. I'll be down in a minute.
Hi.
Drew says hello.
Oh.
Hope you had fun in America.
Hope you had fun in America. Yeah. She's kind of upset that she's not still there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, never mind her. We have to win the lottery. And then we can just move out next week, yeah?
It will take long.
Shut up and take my money.
Rhoda has just joined for 6 months. Thanks, Tombi. You've helped me a lot going well. So Rhoda's another one that's used some of the video guides that I've created.
I do so love pissing on your cornflakes.
So that's the wife talking. She likes pissing on my cornflakes.
Sure.
So I've created guides for how to use Meld, stream avatars, OBS, connects into Rumble Studio, and a few other
This is so helpful, knowing that you're like a real person that's like trying to help and actually creating these products that kind of help people. Because like when I don't know how to do something, I'll go on YouTube and search it. But usually the top one is somebody that's trying to sell 5 other things in order to teach you to do the thing, or you know what I mean? Like there's always something else.
There's always an angle.
Or they're going to spend 20 minutes talking about something separate. And then after 20 minutes, they're like, okay, that's what I really need to know. You know, I've been there before. But yeah, going back to my posts where it's like, I forgot I put some of these up. Because I'll get playing with something like, you know, this is a Grok AI.
Yeah.
And I didn't play with it for like hours. But even that one down there 10 months ago, that was like one of my first big times getting out to the movie theater, going to see Deadpool 3. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I'll make a post about this and say a couple of things. And no, that was a cool experience. So
I loved the Deadpool Wolverine film. Absolutely.
It did a lot of things. It wrapped up the Fox universe.
It tickled me so many different ways.
It was very similar to like that Endgame type feeling is what I got. Be like, okay, we're putting a bow on a lot of stuff.
Yep. Right. Okay. The only other thing that I'll do for the time being, the descriptions and SEO and tags and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I like to have on all of my descriptions is this first line, which I'm going to copy this into chat, but I'm going to change it to your account. So what this essentially does, this is
Flaccid penis.
Flaccid penis. This is always essentially the first thing I add to any video. So I'm going to say, let's change this to 500 subscribers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this straight into Twitter for you. And I always have this as the first thing on any video. And the reason why I have this as the first thing on any video, and I was just going to cough 2 seconds. And it's quite an important one, I find, is because what we're doing is we're giving someone a goal of, do you want to help me get up to 10,000 subscribers? Here's the link, Tombi Boos. But the question mark sub confirmation is a clever bit of code, because what it then does is when you see the description, it comes up as a direct link, and if someone clicks that, it takes them straight to the sub button on your channel. So
Sorry,
yes,
what is it exactly? The link, or how do you create that?
So this bit here, want to help me reach the 10k subscribers, and then you get this / Tombi Boos. There's the question mark sub confirmation is hidden in the background. If anybody clicks on that, it goes straight to your channel page that says sub to Drew's channel kind of thing. So I'll drop that into
I like that, because they might
as
be
well.
checking out the video or channel. They're not sub to the channel, but here's a call to action. Say I'm trying to get up to 500 subscribers.
Exactly. And I add this as the first line in any description. Then I kind of explain. I do a one-liner explanation of what the video is all about. Some links to, because this is a video guide, it just makes sense to put some links to the applications that I used. And then a whole host of SEO-related tags to help a Google algorithm to promote your content, to make it easier to find in the search. I use AI to generate all of that.
Okay.
All of this, streaming overlays, Adobe Express, ChatGPT, create me a SEO tags up to 500 characters for a video guide on creating streaming overlays.
So do you pay for ChatGPT?
I've got a paid for. I use the $20 a month version of ChatGPT.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. I use that, and I will run all of the SEO through that. I'll say, right, go and connect, because you can ask ChatGPT to go and connect to certain websites. So you can connect to Twitch, you can connect to Steam DBs and say, connect to such and such a website and get the top performing games currently being played. Create me SEO tags for such and such a game. And you start building up your prompts. But that helps, obviously, Google's algorithms. And it's not just Google, but when you're putting stuff over onto Rumble, when you're putting stuff over onto Twitch as well, those tags do help your content being found. Affiliate links, live links, and all that good stuff, that's kind of irrelevant. But I also copy those into the tags box that YouTube has. So I do it in both the description and the tags. I do it in the two different locations. The first 5, and what I've found so far, the first 5 tags you put into this box are the most important for live streams and streams to be found within YouTube. And your description is when people are using search Google for finding stuff.
Okay.
So I've had to learn, kind of like through trial and error, how best to have stuff pop out in Google's SEO, Google's search engines versus YouTube's, because obviously they are similar, but they are actually different. If you search for something in YouTube, it's using these tags. If you search for stuff in Google, it's using the description. It's weird.
Yeah.
But unless someone told you, unless someone tells you,
you
you
wouldn't
just
know.
don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah, I watched a video on how to do YouTube descriptions type stuff, and it's tough because you look for a video, and it could be 2 years old,
Yeah.
and it could be relevant, or it could be a lot happened in 2 years, or 2 weeks, or a major update, or stuff like that, or like you said, the algorithm switches, or so yeah. No, this is very very helpful for sure.
Yeah. And apart from that, certainly everything that you're doing is bob on in terms of your playlist, your posts and stuff like that. Just obviously keep the effort going. It's easier said than done.
It's the consistency I need to work on, and
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's-
trial and error, but
That's what I wanted to show you earlier, and I got bloody waylaid. So schedule. And I blame a chap called Bake Linguini for this one. Because it was Bake Linguini that had something very similar on his. And he had a very similar kind of like schedule layout.
Okay, I like that.
And his was similar, but not quite. But I use this now as my right. Okay, what am I doing Monday? What am I doing Tuesday? I've got my times down the left-hand side in both British Standard Time and Eastern Standard Time.
Good idea.
And all I do is take the thumbnail for whatever I'm playing or whatever I'm doing, the Hump Day Chinwag, and I just copy and paste it into the relevant location.
Yeah, can you send me that too?
Yeah, I will send you the template as well. I post this on the Monday morning for the complete week, and I do that fairly religiously. Most of it doesn't change because 9 times out of 10, the Hump Day Chinwag's the same each week. The 2 Ts are the same each week. But yeah, I'll download this and I'll send this across to you. And the other thing I'll do is if we share email addresses, if you're happy to share email addresses after, I'll copy these templates into a file. And if I send you the email, I put your email address in, you can just access them and then copy them, do whatever you like with them.
Okay, yeah, you can use my email address, physicalmediawarriors@gmail.com.
Cool. Happy days. And we'll get that in. So yeah, that was the scheduling aspect. And I don't try and do too much. It does look busy because outside of that, I'm either working or sleeping.
Right.
Plus, this was just when I was going on holiday, hence why there's a plane there on this Saturday. That was me flying to America. But yeah, it's much easier to look after your schedule if you've got something visual in front of you, and you can have it. I used to have it as my wallpaper on my PC, so anytime I turn my PC on, I was like, oh yeah, I've got to do that. I've got to prep for this.
That's a good idea.
Got to prep for this. It was just natural. Right, guys, ladies, gents, it's been an absolute legend of a show so far. So I guess my final question is there anything burning for Drew that is your kind of like barrier for growth? One area that you would like to improve upon?
You handled a lot of those. The schedule, what else are we talking about? Yeah, or the streaming of where. So that helped out a lot. I've been doing just a lot of work in there in the last 3 months of, okay, now it's like the how. The only thing I kind of just struggle with is like, just the etiquette of these different things, of asking for too much or not enough or the right person or whatever. But yeah, that's something that I've just been kind of figuring out over time. But the most I found is just to, like with you, for example, is be like, hey, could we work on something together? Like, because you mentioned that on one of the streams, and I'm like, is that something would make sense for us? And you're like, yep, definitely, let's do it. So to the people out there, I just put myself out there and ask. The worst that they're going to say is no.
Exactly.
More often it's like a non-answer, and it'd be like, okay, well that's like a maybe later. that's not a no, but it's maybe a later. But yeah, people like, interviewing and having a conversation with Ian Crossland, like that was just something to be like, I think this is a cool idea to dive into coma fever dreams and different off the wall type stuff, and that's his personality. And I have a personality in that area some ways too. And anything can happen. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this, and this will be fun.
The door is always open, and it's like I say to any of the guys and girls out there, whether you're a streamer, content creator already, whether you've got a burning question or you're trying to find a way of doing something, guys, just reach out to us. Like Drew says, the worst that we can say is no. The likelihood is, for me, it's I can help you 100%. Just give me X, Y, Z in terms of time, and yeah, my door's always open. The phone's always on. If people are struggling with anything, just let us know. But from myself.
Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
From myself to Drew, thank you very much indeed for spending a good 2.5 hours with me. It's been an absolute blinder, and it's also quite good to find someone that's gone through. I would actually say you've had a more torrid time, but to have experience of the armed forces, experience of recovery, experience of ongoing issues, the neuropathy that goes on as well, it just certainly gives me someone else that I can talk to that can relate much better than other people can. So obviously, thank you very much indeed for joining on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Where are you going to be? Do a quick shout out for yourself. Are you going to got anything coming up?
Yeah, just more videos coming my way on my channel. A lot of the adaptive sports. So I just did the soldier ride, 40 plus miles, I think just under 50 type deal with 40 other veterans in Chicago this past weekend. So I'm adding videos on YouTube here. They're all over X right now, so I'm putting more onto YouTube. But yeah, the Operation Outstanding in Field, that's where you're going to get adaptive sports. You're going to get speaking engagements. I get invited to cool things like throwing the first pitch at the Minnesota Twins game a couple years ago. So that one is on there right now. But the whole thing is, yeah, you're not alone and you're going on your own path. But let's figure out how we can kind of run together every once in a while.
Perfect. Thank you very much indeed, guys. And for me, I'm going to be back in about an hour or so. I'm going to have a bit of a break. I'm going to cool down out this room because it is 29 degrees and I'm sweaty. I'm going to be back in about an hour with some Final Fantasy 14 with Smoothie DJ and Mirren. But chat, thank you very much indeed for all of the gifted memberships and the donations. And please, please do check out Drew's links. Give and go in the pinned comment down below. And consider subscribing over to Drew once you've got to know him a little bit more and have a look at his content. So until next time, guys, thank you very much indeed. This is me and Drew, and we are out of here. Bye for now.
So let's wrap up of the spotlight. Sunday with you, it's a treat. Tombi's highlighted all the creators. We have shared and shown some light about creators we know and love. They make the content we can't get enough of. The grind of being small can really be tough. Every Sunday we show love. We build our community and family, making space for the ones who are like me. But this is more than marks and they're more than creators. I call them friends, now I'll see you later. Spotlight, sunlight, spotlight, spotlight, Sunday, spotlight, spotlight, Sunday, spotlight, spotlight, Sunday, spotlight. Reach out to Tombi to get involved. Thank you all, we'll see you later. Tombi to get involved. Thank you all, and we'll see you later.